Hi everyone, Bobby from FIBA Motorsport here. The reason for this video is because a lot of people who get the frontline fabrication billet oil pump, I keep seeing people question how you run timing covers, not so much how you route the lines as much, but it is a bit of a tricky situation because this is where I have my oil filter housing and it's quite tight around the area. It's quite a ball ache, to be honest. And this isn't even running the oil cooler bypass valve yet, so I haven't even got a place for this because I want to be able to run the engine up to temperature without it going straight to the cooler first. So this is one of the most compact ones I've found from Improved Racing. I grabbed this while I was in the UK. So yeah, at the moment I'm trying to figure out where to put that, but I'll show you why it's a bit tricky, because one, I have an electronic water pump here, so had I not got this in the way it wouldn't have been too bad, but I'm going in and out of everything. So first, the timing covers are fun because you can run them, but it means very careful trimming. So this is the front going from the bottom of the oil cooler, so it's the drawing from into the pump again, and I had to use a banjo here, and the reason why is because of the belt. If I come down here, you'd see, if I can get that focus, I wouldn't have been able to get an AN fitting on there at all. No way, no how. So I had to run a banjo on that one. It was the only possible solution to do that. So yeah, unless you start doing things like different pulleys to offset that, you could have maybe done a step up and around it, but you're getting into complex things, and obviously as you build you're always going to have modifications along the way. So yeah, stuff is nice once it's made, but the long-term planning stuff is the end user, and it tends to be tricky. So yeah, right, so on the rear I had to use two extensions. So the reason why is because by the time I did all of that, if I didn't have the extensions, the lines would have been rubbing up against here, or if not, I would have had to have come underneath this, because the extension would have made this AN fitting go further in, which means it would have been in line with this pulley. So I didn't really fancy coming underneath that. Some people may be happy with that. You could maybe make a bracket that comes off of one of your oil pan bolts or studs, and just crimps it on so it's safe. It is very possible, but I decided to run the extension. The other reason for the extension is not just that one reason, is how do you do up the AN fitting? Because if you look where that is in the center, you would never get, my finger's in the way, you would never get your AN wrench to do this up while it was in here. Again, no way, no how. It's almost impossible. So before you put the timing cover on, you have to put the extension on, and it's exactly the same with the top. I have to do that, and then these are trimmed around the outside as well, so you've got plenty of protection to stop it from any big stuff getting inside there. You may still get like tiny little dust particles and whatnot, but for the whole it's going to be pretty safer than not having one at all. Let's try and get this shot here so you can see. Yeah, it's pretty tricky to get at. So you just, what I did is when I first mocked it up, I had the pump and I had the cover, and then all I did is I just mocked it out roughly where it was, took a small drill, made sure I centered it as much as possible, and then got it out into the correct center, and then just did a hole saw slightly bigger than the outside of the fittings that I needed to run. And that was it really, and that was the same with the front. So what I did with my timing cover, I'll come back to the line routes in a second. What I did with my timing cover a while back is when I did the electronic water pump, I had the block off plate, but this plate in here wasn't there originally because that was part of the water pump, so it sealed it, and there was a gaping hole here. So all I did is that bolt there and that red bolt there, which I've just painted so I know never to take them off, is holding a metal shield just to block the dirt, debris, anything getting inside there. So that is a full-time seal. So you could do something like that to the lower oil oil pump slash timing cover. It is possible to do if you want to get a little bit technical or more technical, or you could always look at doing some plastic welding and reinforcing as well, just to support it even more. But I highly doubt anything is going through those tiny little gaps here. So with that, the line routing. So as I said, I didn't want to go underneath here anyway. So you've got the oil cooler line that comes out the bottom and goes back into the pump, and that's where it draws it in from. Then you've got your inlet to your filter and your bypass. They go up through here past the water pump. The 10AN goes in to the bottom port, the 8AN bypass goes into the top, and then your center is your oil cooler. So once it's been through the filter, it then goes back out into the oil cooler. And for me, that was routing down the bottom, over the top of the water pump, round the intercooler bits, piping, and up the side here, and obviously down and then back around. So as you can see, trying to fit this thing is going to be a bit of a hassle because they're all 10AN. I've got to have these two connections going into that one port, and I've got to have those two connections, one going back into the feed and the other going from here. So had I not had the water pump in the way, it would have gone straight into the middle there and been absolutely fine. But how do you do it other than that? Potentially I could run it this way around. I haven't really looked too much into it now. I gave it a little bit of checking, but that means two 180s maybe, and some tight fittings. So yeah, and with the bumper on, you get less and less room kicking around anyway. So that is the Frontline Fabrication oil pump with the timing cover, fully functional cover. So I hope this helps somehow, because I know there's a lot of people that keep saying, oh, I need to run a timing cover. People say don't run a timing cover, but we should all run timing covers. It is the most ideal thing to do and the safest thing to do. So hopefully this gives you some ideas and you can progress from there as well. Take care everyone, bye bye.